I don't know how anyone can think this is anything less than A-plus acquisition for OKC. You're talking about a guy who's back-to-back all-defense teams, shot over 40% from three, has championship experience. This dude is, if you told me Alex Caruso is one of the 5 best role players in the NBA, I'd be like, yeah, probably, I'd agree with that. And you're adding that to the number 1 seed in the Western Conference that already has a top 5 defense. I mean, it's literally the rich get richer. And so you ask, okay, how did they acquire this massive piece? They must have given up a premium for that. All OKC had to do was trade a guy who was already playing himself out of this team. Josh Giddey clearly just was not a good fit on this team because he couldn't shoot. He needed the ball in his hands, which was taken away from SGA and Jalen Williams, and it was just this really awkward fit that you saw throughout the playoffs and even during the regular season. He didn't mesh well with the starters. So to go from him, this clunky piece where it's you're trying to force make it work because you spent such a high pick on Josh Giddey, and he at one point he did look like a piece for the future, but you're trying to make it work and it really just isn't. And to swap that for this literally perfect piece, again, one of the best role players in the NBA for a team that was already so good last year, got to the second round, oh my God, and they didn't even have to give up any of their draft picks? What? It was a 1-for-1 swap of a less than ideal fit to a perfect fit? How does Sam Presti swing that? Just a home run move for the Thunder. But on Chicago's side, I mean, I will say this, I do kind of like the idea of Chicago targeting young, distressed assets. I think that's a shrewd move. I think it's a good mindset to have, and I think it's a good way of operating. The problem, though, is that there's a reason Josh Giddey is a distressed asset, and it's because he can't shoot. And I think shooting, if you're not a superstar or a star, not being able, shooting is probably the biggest skill you can have as a role player, complementary piece. And Josh Giddey doesn't have that, and it makes him so difficult to figure out where he fits on a roster. And maybe he becomes a good shooter, but it's not looking great in that area. And so you think about that and how you don't really know where he's gonna fit on any team. And then you also consider as the Bulls that are we the best team to maximize what Josh Giddey brings to the table? Now, obviously, they have a whole offseason to change their team. There's been talks about trading Zach LaVine. DeMar DeRozan is a free agent, so we don't even know what their roster is going to look like next year. But if I was a betting man, I'd bet that they run that team back. They bring back, LaVine doesn't get traded, and they bring back DeRozan. And so is that the best team to maximize Josh Giddey, surrounding him with not great shooters and making him share the ball? That's not great at all. So that's where I'm sort of I like the idea, I like the mentality of it, but are you the right team to do it, barring a complete teardown of the roster where you trade LaVine, you let DeRozan walk, or maybe you sign and trade him, and you just build a different kind of roster around Josh Giddey and Kobe White. So if they go that route, if they go the tear it down route, this move might make a bit more sense in that area. But the bigger problem for Chicago and why this deal is ultimately really bad is, how do you not get back a single first-round pick from OKC? One first-round pick. How many first-round picks does OKC have? So, all of them, right? It seems like they have all of them from 5 different teams. And don't get me wrong, I'm not the biggest fan of first-round picks. I think a lot of people like them because there's just a lot of hypotheticals, and everyone, focuses on the best-case scenario instead of what's more likely to happen, which the first-round pick doesn't really amount to anything. But it's still an asset, and it still could potentially be something. And OKC has so many picks to trade that they're probably dying to trade at this point. Otherwise, they're going to be wasted, essentially. And if you're the Bulls, you literally have leverage. You have leverage. You have this top 5 elite role player that everybody wants. How do you not go to OKC and just jack up the price, get 125 cents on the dollar? How do you not do that with the threat of, hey, if you don't make this deal, we'll trade him to someone else? How do you not use your leverage to extract as many assets as possible from the Thunder? That's just horrible mismanagement. You have this one piece everyone wants, and you don't maximize it to its potential. You could get multiple first-round picks from a team with just its own first-round picks. That's how valuable Alex Caruso is. But how do you not go to the Thunder and say, you have so many first-round picks, give me 2, give me 3, along with Josh Giddey, because they can afford it? How do you not do that? It's a gross mismanagement of one of the best assets in the NBA. This is why the Bulls are going to stay mediocre. Not bad. Bad would be better. Bad would be good. No, they're mediocre, and it's always going to stay that way. So, great move for OKC. I mean, they really might be, are they the favorites out west? I don't know. I guess, less than a week after the season, not really worth talking about that. But like the fact that the number 1 seed in the Western Conference last year just got better. They literally, like, they got better. They added a piece they wanted. They got rid of a piece they didn't have to take on much more salary, if any, and they didn't have to give up any other draft picks. Just, wow, what a move for them. And if you're the Bulls, yeah, I kind of like the idea of bringing Giddey to see if you could maximize his potential. But I don't think the Bulls, as currently constructed, are the team to do that, which makes me skeptical of that move. And also, I'm still frustrated that the Bulls just got, again, not even 1 first-round pick from a team with all of them.